Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I'm trying these earphones. I'm Valerie Hunt with RunRx, and I'm going to come to you every Wednesday now live. And I would love to hear your questions. I've got two that I'm going to answer today that I got ahead of time. Or you can always comment on here. And the point of today, or the goal of today, is to talk about two things. One, I'm going to talk about running injuries, specifically plantar fasciitis. Last week I got into Shin Splints, so I thought we'll go on the other side today, talk plantar fasciitis. And we're also going to talk about the mindset of how I recover in running and how I run pain-free. Kind of just comes back to how I run. So one of the things that people come at me with generally is most people don't come to me unless they have an injury. So I'm trying to change that into preventative way more than, I'm already hurting. However, I love to help people run pain-free. That's what I do. I've been doing this now for over 20 years. And the fun part is everything has come up, like gadgets and watches and shoes and the technology, and there's so much out there for runners. The nice thing to know, and I hope this comes at you in a good way, is that everything I still teach, I was still teaching 30 years ago. And the fun part is I teach a running method. It's called pose method, and he's created that over 45 years ago. And the thing with teaching running is a teaching movement. And in teaching movement, we have to have three things. It's like it's a triangle. And on the top of the triangle is skill. And on the bottom of the triangle is strength and self-care. And so with RunRx, we do all three. And the strength and the self-care supports the skill. So when someone comes to me and says, we're going to talk about it today, I have plantar fasciitis. My heel hurts. It hurts when I get up in the morning. It hurts when I run. However, I'm not running. I'm still going to run, right? I mean, most of us have run through quite a bit of pain. Maybe we're not, hopefully not in any pain right now, but some of us are running through it right now, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are experiencing pain while they run, and it's a normal part of the running community's conversation. Go to any running group anywhere, and someone's like, oh, someone's got a piece of tape on maybe, or maybe they have a brace around their knee. Or they'll say, hey guys, you should try this, or I don't know, a shoe insert, or orthotic, or these new shoes I got. We're all doing, or these socks I wear, or whatever, these gadgets and all this external stuff. And then I'm gonna come back with you, and I have some. I've actually pulled out some toys because I love to play. So I find that the toys are for play. So yes, absolutely, you should have a foam roller and roll the bottom of your feet and do the stretches. We have to do that. I tell people, it's like you have to brush and floss, right, your teeth. So your feet that you stand on all day, you run on, also need to be talked to. You've got to every day do something for the foot. And it can be as simple as toe scrunches. How many people have been to PT and the PT's like, hey, get some marbles or get some rocks or get a towel and just, pick it up with your feet. And you're like, okay. And what happens is while we're in pain, we'll usually do whatever the doctor says to get us out of that pain. And for a lot of people I've worked with, it's a shot. It's some kind of manual therapy, physical therapy, whatever it is. And while they're doing it, they're involved because they're hurting. And then they want to go off and go back to running. Well, what if you keep running and you keep getting that same calf pain or that same plantar pain or that same whatever pain, and you're like, I always have to stretch this leg, right? You start to accommodate for that. I have people tell me all the time, like, well, you see, I have one leg higher than the other, or I have a tight hip, or I have this and that. So what? Your body doesn't care. Your body, your skeletal system supports you. You're made this way. This is you. We all have issues. And we all have to work on those things. Like, yeah, I have tight shoulders, so guess what? I have to do shoulder mobility. So do you. We all do, right? And there's an old Chinese saying, you're as old as your joints. You want to stay young and moving, keep your joints moving. And the way to do that is to move through their full range of motion. So what happens in running, if I have plantar fasciitis, for example, for a lot of us, it's due to, it can be two things. But for most people, plantar fasciitis comes because they use their back foot to press their body forward. So what happens when you do that, it feels kind of fun. Like in place, if I take my weight here and I just push like this, it was fun. I kind of did a little jump. However, it wasn't really that fun for my leg because it just had to take all of my body weight, press and extend. And when I pressed and extended, It was like putting a 30-pound weight on the back of my ankle. So yeah, I had a little bit of fun going forward. And now my hamstring is stuck. It's back here behind me, flexed with like a 30-pound weight on it. And the only way to bring it in is to what? Go yank with my hip. And the thing in running is like, this is the running pose in running. So there's an optimal pose for runners. And in this pose, ears, shoulders, hip, lifted ankle, in line. When I go over the ball, the foot is one unit. You are one spring-loaded unit. You fall from your center. So this is the heaviest part of your body. This is where gravity acts. So I fall, my foot pulls up, and look, I'm right back in that running pose. Remember, running is the same repetitive movement over and over and over, and there's a cycle to it. It's a gait cycle. And then there's a really fun part of running that's called the flight phase. That's the flight cycle, and that's where you travel. The body can actually only travel when both feet are off the ground. So if I push, so let's say I'm in this great running pose, and I'm gonna go running, and I go push. Well, here I am. So I pushed, and I went up, and then I went back down. Here I am, but I can't travel because physiologically, the body itself, remember, both feet have to be off the ground, one, and second, to travel forward, I have to be connected. So I can face plant, but to have my whole body go forward, you have to get to this running pose. So I tell people, let's just get there right away. If I'm in pose and my knee is bent, and I fall and leave the knee bent, you see I just pulled right back to running pose. And here's the best part. You have this blueprint in your body, all of us do. Everybody's hamstring, no matter what age you are, if you fall and pull, that hamstring will finish the pull. You don't even have to do anything. If you try to do it, it will always look like this. Kick. Then you're stuck. Now you, again, 30-pound weight stuck on my hamstring, and then I gotta use my hip to yank myself forward. So your foot the entire time was taking all that. Because the whole time you're on the ground, you're absorbing body weight, and there's still momentum, right? So as my body's going forward and you decide to push, just recognize that that push loads the calf, loads the heel, loads the foot, and unfortunately you only end up going really up instead of the fun part of running, which is falling forward and the foot pulling off the ground. And what you see happens, if you allow yourself to fall and pull, it uses what's called a reflexive response of the hamstring, which again you can develop. But I want to show you something, right? So hold on. Let's go back to my plantar fasciitis. But Valerie, remember, whatever you're saying sounds good, but my foot really hurts. So really, I just want you to give me a stretch. Really, I just want you to give me something quick that'll make me feel better. Well, I would be happy to. But I'm going to tell you that the more you move correctly and keep putting your body in the right pose and the right position and the optimal position to use its own ability, to use its muscle elasticity, all of that you have already, you will be so much happier for the rest of your running life, rather than every time I run, I have to wear these weird socks or I have to roll my foot or whatever it is. You want to do these things because they're beneficial and it's just part of what you do. That's what I tell people. I roll my foot. I stretch all the time. I love it. It feels so good. However, I'm only doing it so I can continue running rather than being injured and having to do it. See, that's the difference. But I've already been there, just so you know. I've had plantar fasciitis countless times, shin splints, you name it. And I've been pain-free now for so long that they're just stories of my past. But just so you know, everyone that's had plantars, when you wake up in the morning and you're scared to put your feet on the ground, never forgets that. I don't ever forget that feeling. So over the years, I have found very simple things that have worked for me for plantars. So I want to share them with you. This is for people that do much better with a toy than having to figure something out. Does that make sense? So you can still get these. I don't have any connection with it. It's called Elgin. You get it on Amazon. And basically what it is you put your foot on it. So I'll take my shoe off. You put your foot on it, and it is an actual plantar strengthener. Isn't that fun? So if you would get on it to do your plantar scrunches and that would make you do them, then yeah, get it. And check that this calf stays relaxed. If you want to make sure you know how to work with your foot and not use your calf, that's really, really important. So that's something I talk to you about in the membership. The other thing I use is just a plain piece of wood. This is just all it is, piece of wood. And you put your heel on one side, and I put my toes on the other, and it strengthens my arch. It's an arch strengthener. You can use anything. Or I put it here. You guys have seen this, probably done this in your life. And I stretch. But this is called a supported foot stretch. Instead of hanging my foot off like a curve, which also is fine, this isolates the soleus. Because for a lot of people that have plantar, it's actually a tight soleus that's affecting that. And the last one is an oldie but a goodie, and it's just rolling the foot. So it's just taking a lacrosse ball. We like accu-mobility balls. We like tune-up balls. But any ball that you have in a pinch, and you just roll the bottom of your foot. All of these things are amazing and need to happen and should be done. And there's not like one's the best. It's not like, oh, if you just would do this one, this would be it. It's not one. It's the consistency of what you do all the time that shows up in your movement. So the most important, the top of the pyramid is skill. But the foundation is strength and self-care, because I have to be able to support the skill. And I keep telling people, like, yes, it's not that exciting, this practice, thing that we do, but every time you run, think about it. If I'm running and I'm running with the correct movement, how much better am I going to be at running? A lot. Then I can start having fun with my speed, my distance, my whatever it is. We had a woman just this past weekend, she ran her first 100-miler, pain-free. Her biggest obstacle was the heat. It got to be 106 where she was running. And she said, I just listened to my body and just recovered, took little breaks, probably. She said the first 40 miles, she was great. As she got hotter, she would take little 10 minutes breaks. Makes sense, rehydrate, get back. But she said it was just amazing, right? I want you guys to be able to run down your driveway or 100 miles pain-free. But the reality is to get there, it takes two things. You've got to practice the movement. So yeah, you can stretch and do all those great things, and your body will thank you for it. It's so fun. But when you decide you really want to learn the movement of running and how to run, I would love to have you in the membership. And that's what I do. I teach people every day how to run. And we do it all. We do the skill, the strength, the self-care. I watch you run. I give you feedback on your running. And so people tell me all the time, well, they'll watch these and they'll say, well, what shoes should I get? Well, who cares? Make it comfortable. Whatever shoe feels good on your foot, get that shoe. But try to switch my mindset to how if I would actually think about my movement of running and work with someone learning how to run, then I could run forever knowing how to do the things I need to do. And that's what's fun, because again, like if I'm injured and I go to PT and I get some stretches, great, do those stretches. However, if you go back to running the way you were running and then your calf hurts again, it's not that your calf's fault. You can't keep telling it's your calf's tight. You can't keep saying my calf's tight, because the calf shouldn't be loaded. So if your calf's really tight, that means you have tense ankles during your run. Well, let's get rid of that tension. And the whole fun of running is stress release. If I want to go running to relieve stress, but the whole time I'm running, my neck's tight, my calves are tight, my tension, then your body's like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure why we do this all the time. So I want you to have some joy in your life with your running. I'd love for you guys, again, if you have more questions, please comment below. I'm going to come on every week, and I'm going to talk about, hopefully, not always an injury, but I know that gets people, a little bit of something to help with an injury. But most of all, the most important part, and I can only just say this 1,000 times, but I still love to say it, the best way to get rid of injuries is to first practice what is running. And the best part about practice is it can be right here. Especially if you're not able to run right now, this is when you should get with me. This is when I can help you. We can make sure you're standing in the correct pose. It's one thing to watch me. It's another thing when I watch you. So make sure you are actually in the running pose. Are you actually pulling? Are we using the hamstring? And then we can talk about things like our tight hips and ankles and whatnot. We work on those too. But just that connection, and then How do I know how I'm falling? How do I know when to pull? These things that I promise you, going through a guided tour, a guided journey practice, when you're done, you're ready to go running. You've got a bunch of great skill drills to practice to keep moving on forward in your running, but mostly you'll stay pain-free because now you know what's going on in your movement. So the stretching is great. I hope you do those tips. Definitely rolling the bottom of the feet feels so good. Could have a little ball at your desk, right? Very simple stuff. Keep you pain-free. So he's like, hey, Oscar, how are you? Hope you're still doing your lifting. Oscar used to be in my CrossFit. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to be on every Wednesday. I'm going to try to keep it short, right about 15 minutes, but my goal is to give you a little bit of a tip to run pain-free and a thought about, hey, maybe I should try doing that for myself. Love to see you guys in the membership. If nothing else, take the RunRx quiz. It's free, and it will help you see if you're running by reaching or pushing instead of pulling. So at least that would be a good first step. All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you.